With the world in the balance, Captain America charges into Europe in pursuit of his arch-nemesis, that red fiend, Spider-Man. On this episode of Deja View, it's a Turkish cinematic marvel. In the 1960s and 70s, movies about masked heroes were big box office in Turkey. Batman, the Phantom, Spy Smasher, Zorro, even anti-heroes like Italy's sadistic Killing. They all starred in multiple homegrown adventures. Sure, these films were unauthorized, but thanks to lax copyright protections for foreign works, that didn't matter much to Turkish producers, and it mattered even less to audiences. But with so much competition, filmmaker Tevfik Fikret Uçak wanted to stand out. So in 1973, he proposed something rather novel, a movie with multiple masked heroes. Deja View, Three Giant Men, would be the world's first comic book crossover film, pitting Captain America against Spider-Man 43 years before Captain America Civil War. As for Uçak's third giant man, that would be Mexican wrestler Santo. The silver-masked luchador had made the jump from the ring to the screen in 1958, and by 1973, he was a cinematic costumed crime fighter in his own right, with dozens of films to his name. Santo's movies were popular all over the world, and Turkey was no exception, so he was a logical pick for Uçak's superhero romp. However, the way Uçak presented his heroes was, to put it mildly, unorthodox. Captain America, for instance, has been stripped of his trademark shield and the little wings on his helmet, but more surprisingly, he's been downgraded from a World War II super soldier to a mere costumed policeman. Why? Well, if you must throw stones, don't blame the Turks, blame Hollywood. See, Captain America was one of the first comic book superheroes to be adapted for the silver screen, headlining a 15-chapter Republic movie serial in 1944. Originally, Republic had planned to adapt Fawcett Comics' Mr. Scarlet, but a split with Fawcett necessitated a hasty rewrite with a new hero. A character from Timely Comics was substituted, but because of the scramble, Republic kept a lot of what they already had. So like Mr. Scarlet, Captain America was a middle-aged district attorney who moonlights as a vigilante. Meanwhile, his costume was also revised, omitting, did you notice? The shield and wings. That's the version of the character that Turks would have been familiar with. Captain America's comics wouldn't be introduced to Turkey until 1975, 2 years after Deja View, but the Republic serial had been released as Yıldırım Yüzbaşı, Captain Lightning, as recently as 1962, and that's the version that Uçak and company adapted. As for Spider-Man, well, Uçak and screenwriter Doğan Tamer wanted an especially powerful foe to battle Captain America and Santo. Their idea was to transform another major superhero into a supervillain. Like Cap, Spider-Man's comics wouldn't arrive in Turkey until the mid-70s, and then only briefly before reappearing more regularly in the 80s. He also wouldn't receive a big screen adaptation until 1977, when the American TV pilot was released as a theatrical feature for the foreign market, coming to Turkey in '81. Therefore, since Turkish audiences were barely familiar with the character, Uçak and Tamer were able to take any liberties they wanted. Their Spider-Man would be a sadistic, murderous crime lord cast in the same mold as Italy's Killing. He'd also have the distinctly un-Spider-like ability to spontaneously duplicate himself. The filmmakers reimagined Spidey as a kind of malicious, self-replicating virus. This conceit allowed him to battle both heroes simultaneously and even get killed several times during the film's final act, yet always come back for more. Also, Santo's fans will be mortified to discover that the masked man frequently takes his mask off. Sacrilege! But Turkish movie superheroes rarely worried about secret identities. So, when in Turkey, do as the Turks do. In fact, Captain America's explanation for wearing masks at all is, well, dubious.
Örümcek çocuk ruhlu bir delidir. Hep maske takar. Karşısında başka bir maskeli gördü mü onu yok etmeye çalışır.
Nearly as eccentric as its heroes is Deja View's musical score. It's a hodgepodge of purloined tunes. Given the short amount of time in which films had to be turned around, the prohibitive cost of composing and recording an original orchestral score, and again, Turkey's lenient copyright laws, filmmakers found it more expedient to pull albums from their personal libraries to score their movies. Deja View exemplifies this practice, borrowing cues from Diamonds Are Forever, Duck You Sucker, a couple of Shaft films, and songs by Santana and Booker T and the MGs. Deja View contained all the elements that screenwriter Tamer deemed essential for a profitable Turkish action film: violence, sex, sadism, and heroism. or, according to the English language press kit, action, sexes, and horror. But the film still went months before finding success in its home country. So in the meantime, producer Hassan Tual rented a booth at a film festival in Italy, where he found an international distributor who took it to Africa, and incidentally made it the first Turkish movie to be sold in Tanzania. It would, of course, resurface decades later all over the world on the bootleg video circuit and become a cult gem. The unsanctioned adventure did eventually receive a small measure of mainstream legitimacy. In 2015, Dan Slott, Ty Templeton, and Andrew Crossley gave Turkey's unfriendly neighborhood Spider-Man a tiny background appearance in Spider-Verse issue number 2, making him officially part of the Marvel canon, as he was meant to be. Hey, did you know Deja View has a book now? It's called How the World Remade Hollywood. Written by yours truly based on years of research and interviews, How the World Remade Hollywood tells the incredible and little-known stories behind dozens of wild remakes and ripoffs. Whatever you think you know about remake-exploitation, I promise you're going to be surprised. Get How the World Remade Hollywood wherever you buy books online, or ask your local library to get it for their collection and read it for free. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.